What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast. We are coming at you guys via Zoom. It's cold, it's icy. We're all hunkering down just a little bit. I almost fell completely down my front yard earlier going to the mail. It was ugly. It was ugly, but I made it. We did it. We got Opal. We got downtown Sage Brown. We got Cease. I'm pointing in directions. I'm sure it's all different on everyone's computers, so it doesn't make any sense what I'm doing, but just roll with me here. Sage, I'm going to start with you. You lucky son of a bitch. You won tickets to this game, and
Yes, sir.
your team comes out and just absolutely clamps up Houston. I mean, tell us about the game. Tell us about the trip. How was it? How much fun did you have?
Gosh, the drive, obviously, there, you're just so hyped, and it flew by. It took about 11 and a half hours to get there. I know. And then you go to the game, and you get in, and you find your seats. It's freezing. I think the real feel was like -1.
Ooh.
I know. It was absolutely insane, but all that goes away. When the lights come on and the flyover happens, and you just see the Ravens announce each defensive player, you see Roquan Smith just come out there. They're all running like their hair's on fire. Oh, it was electric. Finally, the Ravens are getting the respect for the home field advantage that they have, which is just an insane crowd that is there to terrorize, as you can see by 6 pre-snap penalties, offenses on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Houston couldn't get anything. I mean, it was almost every play. I'm like, oh my God, another false start, another delay of game. Like, holy shit, that place has to be just so loud.
Even the missed field goal, I feel like Ravens fans were celebrating the miss before it happened.
I mean, you guys were in their head. That's a rookie quarterback going to probably the toughest place he's ever had to play and just getting absolutely bodied by the noise. Just couldn't do anything offensively at all.
I'll say my favorite chant. There was an older gentleman, little bit behind me, and we had some Houston fans walking up the stands, and they said, "Hey, Texas, you bring any butter?" And they were like, "What?" He's like, "'Cause Texas is toast." And then the fans just started chanting, "Toast, toast, toast, toast."
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that was probably just electric. That's cool. And you saw a game where I was nervous in the first half. I was like, oh shit, that punt return touchdown by Houston, 10-10. I was like, uh-oh, Baltimore's got to get going. I was like, Colin was right. Rust is beating rest. They're in trouble. And then I don't know what Roquan and Lamar said at halftime, but damned if it didn't work. I mean, 24-0 in the second half. And like the dominance of the defense. We're all going to talk about Lamar Jackson and what he did. You guys held C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense to 3 points. Their only touchdown came on a punt return. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Yeah. Addison, Colin, thoughts on that football game from you? Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, Lawyers for the Injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlayBookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. You guys?
Steve, I'll let you go here.
All right, sure. Yeah, Sage, as you mentioned, it crowd was a huge factor in the game with all the pre-snap penalties, just penalties in general. I mean, most penalties in a Houston Texans playoff game in their history. I know they don't have a huge history with playoff games as they're a newer franchise, but that just goes to test to not only a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, but just for once this season, Houston actually kind of looked like that young, inexperienced team that just had a few things that they weren't quite ready for in this game. And Baltimore, hats off to them. They took advantage of it. And for a while in that first half, I was like, oh, man, is that 9.5 going to cover? And then, you're sitting there late third quarter, and you're like, oh, boy, is this going to be like a 20 to 30-point game? Just a fantastic performance. I was a little nervous with a punt return touchdown before half. Obviously, tied at half. It's like, you never know. It could go either way. Literally 30 minutes of football left. It could go either way. But Baltimore came out, and they left no doubt in that game. And Lamar proved why he is the MVP this season.
Oh, yeah. I was say one thing I talked about before the game, one reason I was on the Texans plus the 9.5 was I was thinking maybe the run game was going to get going a little bit for Houston, but Baltimore obviously just shut that down. I mean, Singletary, 9 rushes, 22 yards. And obviously when you're down, you can't really get the run game going. But that in turn just goes and favors Baltimore's offense. I mean, Colin, you said it, Lamar Jackson showing why he's for sure the MVP. There was a play I saw on Twitter. It was like a counter read, but it's like the whole line pulls right. I don't even know if it was in the playbook, but Lamar keeps it because the DN crashes, and it's like, okay, so this is one of like 3 quarterbacks that could do this, and it's like a 15-yard scamper, and it's like, okay, how do you defend this? Because this is like a perfect play. And then they add in a little slant option off the left side with Odell. It's like, okay, how do you actually stop this? I don't know. Todd Monken, man, he's came in and that offense is humming, baby. And watch out. I mean, obviously we're this far in, but I don't know if they're gonna lose, man. I just
I don't know if they're gonna lose either.
don't see how, man. I don't see how. Both sides of the ball clicking the like insanely well. And Sage, you brought it up earlier in the year when we were talking all this historic stuff they're doing. I mean, hey, they look historic right now.
Yeah, they look unstoppable. Like you guys have said, like this is the perfect kind of football for Lamar Jackson to quarterback. Your defense is dominant. Lamar, just go do your thing, man. Like Lamar rushed for 100 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Threw for $152 and 2 touchdowns, but he didn't need to because they couldn't stop him on the ground. They just couldn't stop him. And the defense was playing. That's complimentary football at its finest. That is a well-run organization, a well-coached team.
Last thing on that is Andrews also late game scratch. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was planning on playing. You know, they're probably like, let's just be safe, one more game, but you lose out on him coming back as well. It doesn't matter. Zay Flowers, though, man, that draft pick, grand slam, because that's going to be years. Him and Lamar have a connection. And just Baltimore finally got him a guy because, man, it's every time he runs a route, he's got the advantage every single time. And I mean, most receivers that are good do, but it's if Lamar has a guy that gets open every play and his legs and the defense, I mean, watch out.
Well, real quick too, Addison, you mentioned a play where the Ravens ran like a counter and Lamar kept it. I don't know if it was that exact play you're talking about, but he did have a play where he like faked it right and then bootleg back left and had Ronnie Stanley lead blocker against like a safety. And it's like at best it's against a linebacker.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you stop that? Everything's going right. Lamar just bootleg, keeps it left, and you got your left tackle as a lead blocker in front of you. It's like,
yeah, and you got maybe top
That's
3 guys in open space in NFL with football.
Yeah.
Holy.
Unbelievable performance.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up, you brought up Zay and how he was a slam dunk. Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, for real though.
Oh my,
for real.
I feel like right now, since he's took over, since Mark Andrews got hurt, he has 6 touchdowns already. And I feel like he's what we all expected Pitts to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Dude is just playing insane.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one play, I know everyone and their mother's talking about it, but how do you not? Is that Lamar, he throws it to him in the end zone, and Likely's like, hey, bring it up top next time. Bring it up top next time.
And he does.
Next quarter, they're in the red zone. Speaking of 4 for 4 in the red zone, Texans 0 for 0 because they didn't even make it to the red zone.
That's crazy.
And he puts it up high. Zay snatches it from Derek Stingley, and it's a work of art.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It was just impressive, top to bottom, very well done. You could tell there was the veteran team that was ready for this moment and the rookie team that was just isn't there a year too early. Like no one expected the Texans to do this. Nobody, not even the most fervent Texans fans said, well, we're making a divisional round. We could maybe beat the Ravens. It's like, no. None of you thought this would happen. It's a first season. You're going to be good, surprisingly. And I think they're happy with their season as they should be. Their future is definitely bright.
Yeah.
So good for Houston making a good run, but at the end of the day, they just ran into a team that is unstoppable at the moment, it seems like. Speaking of another team that we have often thought of as unstoppable, the next game, that Saturday night game, Green Bay at San Francisco, kind of dicey.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
They looked very stoppable. I mean, even Aaron Jones, another 108 yards on the game. Where was this all year, Aaron Jones? What the heck,
Yeah,
dude?
I know, Dick. I only drafted you in fantasy, man. But I mean, against the Niners defense, though, I think, Colin, we saw the stat when we were watching. It was like 3 seasons worth of games without 100 yards rusher against the 49ers. Aaron Jones and this Packers offense had it in this playoff game, man. I mean, easy to say because I'm assuming all 3 of you agree. Most people agree. Packers lost this game.
Yes.
Niners did not win this.
No.
Packers lost.
Yep.
Missed field goal, going for it, not kicking the field goal, which, hey, I get it if you don't trust your kicker. And then Love making the really bad throw, his one really bad decision.
Yeah.
But they were in control of this game. And the 49ers, I mean, that's a little bit of a wake-up call maybe going into this championship game because they got out of there by the skin of their teeth. But I will say I think it was Teddy Bruschi I was watching, and it's not wrong. I don't care that Purdy sucked for 3.5 quarters in the drive they needed most. He did perform in that drive, but it also helps when you can hand the ball to CMC multiple times in that drive. But still, he made big time throws when it mattered most. But
He
man,
did.
Green Bay plays away from an NFC Championship game. Plays away.
Genuinely. And you think like Purdy struggled. The stats don't tell. If you're just a stat watcher, you'll say Purdy was fine. 252 yards and a touchdown, but he threw like 3 interceptable passes. He hit Darnell Savage in both hands, and he just dropped it. Yep. And those are like you against the 49ers. If you're going to beat them, you need Brock Purdy to make those mistakes. And he made them, but they didn't capitalize. That was the whole difference in the game. And then you've got Jordan Love. I don't like that last drive. You need 3 points. You've got 3 timeouts and plenty of time on the clock.
First down, bud. First down.
It's like Brett Favre is whispering in his ears. He's rolling out. Aaron Rodgers or someone else on his one shoulder saying, throw it out of bounds. And Brett Favre was like, throw it back across body 30 yards downfield in the triple coverage. And he's like, yes, let's do that. It's like, that's how you lose to the 49ers. And that's what happens. The Niners relied on Christian McCaffrey, who looked damn good. Deebo Samuel hurt and probably going to miss this upcoming game against the Lions is a big loss for them. But they were the rust versus rest. They were rusty. You could tell, especially early on. Like, they did not come out looking good. They didn't score any points in the first quarter, only 7 in the first half. That Christian McCaffrey touchdown was borderline lucky. That 39-yard scamper, like that clock, if we play it technically, like when the play clock hit 0, ref looks at the clock, looks at the ball. As the ref is looking at the clock, that's when they snapped it. They were going to go in motion. I saw this breakdown today. They had a tight end that's supposed to come in motion. He stopped him and said, we don't have time. Go down. Stop the tight end in motion. And they got that snap off with the clock at 0, which is technically still legal, so it's okay. But they were a split second away from no touchdown on that run, on that long McCaffrey touchdown run. Like, that's huge. That is unbelievably huge. And Shanahan finally breaks the curse. 0-30 when he is losing by 5 points or more in the fourth quarter. Finally broke the curse. Purdy finally. What were you saying?
Good time to do it.
Yeah, best possible time to do it to avoid a serious upset. I just wasn't super impressed with the 49ers. I'm a little worried for them in this upcoming game. It's gonna be an interesting one. Colin, thoughts on this battle? Are you doing? How's the family? How's the house? I know it was divided for this one. Your 2 fathers.
We were all rooting for nobody to win this game. Just how much can they bang each other up? So we were really rooting for subconsciously. You talked about it, both you guys. The Packers really threw this one. I mean, you're talking about the missed field goal, and then you're talking about not capitalizing. Darnell Savage, we got to get our pick 6 in the first round. We can't get it in the second round.
Nope, can't do it again.
Got to get your pick 6 in Dallas, and we can't do it in San Fran. All of a sudden, your hands stop working.
Can't catch anymore.
No, but you talk about it. So many plays in this game. If they go just a bounce the other way, we're talking about the Green Bay Packers as a 7 seed going to Detroit for an NFC North NFC Championship game. But as you mentioned, Addison, you got to tip your cap to Purdy. Doesn't matter what happens through the first 50 minutes. If the last 10 minutes you're electric, and he did just enough to get them to where they had to go. You can't really excuse that Jordan Love across the middle of the field, as you mentioned, on 1st and 10. But that's just a first-year starter trying to make a play, man. That's what you got to chalk it up to, and it sucks. It's a terrible decision. Looking back at the film, I'm sure he's disgusted. What the hell am I doing? But at the same time, rookie mistakes, man. These things happen, and it just sucks that it's in the biggest moment of their season for them. But we'll see. The Niners look susceptible, and how good are the Niners without Deebo Samuel fully healthy?
Yeah,
Ayuk was clamped. He only had 3 catches for 30 yards. So he's got to obviously step up big. But it pains me to say this as a Bears fan, but Jordan Love, I thought, looked really good, though, other than that, for what it was, going up against a top 3 defense in the league, top 5 at minimum, and this is a message to teams, man. Cut bait to bad kickers. Screwed the Bears in 2018. I don't care that you drafted Anders Carlson and he's a rookie. Throughout the year, multiple big-time missed kicks, and you knew it was going to come back to bite you, man. It always does, and I understand you spend the pick on him. Sucks to get rid of a guy, but it's like if you're trying – I get it. If you're competing, though, man, it's tough when your coach doesn't believe in your kicker. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. But, man, Jordan Love, though, I'm looking – it's bright. Future's bright. One bad decision. I know it's dumb as well because the throw, I don't know how you get an additional 15 yards on it. But if he did, Christian Watson's got him all beat. Got him all beat over the head. But it's like you're not throwing an additional 15 yards on that play, bud. You're going all the way right, trying to throw crossbody left, upward. But still, though, the future's bright, sadly, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, it sounds like they're
bazooka.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, hey, he needs it. Sounds like they're going to look at giving him a huge contract this offseason too, from everyone I'm thinking. And I I like it. I think it's a good idea. I know Colin's fist pumping it. I think it's a good idea. You are banking on one good season. Ask the Eagles how they feel about banking on Jalen Hurts.
Giants.
Ask the Giants. Even though Daniel Jones' season wasn't good, he had 15 touchdowns, and they're like, yeah, 40 mil a year. That makes perfect sense. That was just asinine. We don't even need to talk about that. I don't know, Packers, it'll be interesting to see where they go this offseason. They're going to have to pay some people, and they're still hurting for cap a little bit. So, but they played well, and they can hang their hat. I think they know they've got their quarterback and their coach going forward. I think they know
some young studs as well surrounding Love as well.
Absolutely. Cheap team right now, which they need with their cap situation.
Yeah, no
those
troll.
cheap young guys are going to help a lot.
Youngest team in the NFL by a decent margin. So
one more thing I'll mention on the Packers really quick is got to give some flowers to Matt LaFleur, guy we were all doubting throughout the season. Is he Aaron Rodgers merchant? Can this guy coach without Aaron Rodgers? Clearly he can. Something I was saying throughout, not even the Cowboys game, but also the 49ers game, like in the Xbox party and, while we were watching in your garage, Nate, the Cowboy game, this Packer offense looks so simple and like so elementary. And that sounds like a negative condensation to say that, but they dumb it down so well. They motion guys open. I mean, Romeo Dobbs from 25 plus receiving yards is like minus 210 every game.
Yep.
And this dude had 80 last game against the Niners and like 180 against the Cowboys. If that guy is 25 plus at that little odds next year, I'm betting it every single game.
Every game.
But shout out to LaFleur for simplifying this offense. And hey, we're going to run the ball. We're going to bootleg off the run, and we're going to get some crossing patterns to get guys open underneath. Quick throws for Love, quick reads. And that's ultimately what I think their success was. Yes, Jordan Love did play very well this year, but without that coaching and play calling from Matt LaFleur, is he in the same situation? Does he have the same success? So got to give a little bit of flowers to LaFail, as Steve Boone calls him.
100 LaFail. 100%. Let's get into Sunday's games. We got the NFC matchup first. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Detroit Lions. Two teams that were super happy to be where they are for sure. Detroit Lions, man, I will say this game came down to which quarterback was going to make the mistake. Which quarterback was going to throw their team out of it. And Baker Mayfield threw his team out of it. 2 interceptions in the game. Still threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is great. But he also threw 2 picks. And you look across the aisle, Jared Goff, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did not make the costly mistake. Also, I feel really vindicated by the fact that we were all clamoring for more Jahmyr Gibbs earlier this year, and he's showing us why we were clamoring for that. Why were they not giving this dude the ball a ton? He is electric. Good luck stopping him in the open fields. 9 carries, 74 yards and a touchdown. That's unbelievable. I mean, that's unbelievable.
And then add his 4 for 40 receiving practically every game. It is practically every game as well. And just give that guy more touches because, like you said, Nate, I mean, he's arguably just as good with the ball as Amon Ra, like equally as explosive with plays, maybe even more. So it's like that guy, you got to get him more involved because he is one of your best players.
No, the acceleration he has is absolutely unreal. I mean, he can break any single play into 80 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Any play can be a touchdown with that man. So the more you get the ball in his hands, the more chance you have to score. It's easy as that. Obviously, they didn't play him that much in the beginning of the year, and honestly, I don't blame him too much because he's a smaller guy. Maybe you were just saving him for later in the year. You had that much faith that you were going to make it this far. You were like, hey, if he's got fresh legs as possible, let's let him run.
Yep.
That's a good point. I was impressed with Detroit's defense in this game, slowing down the Bucs a good bit, although Mike Evans went crazy, which was really nice for a bet that I had. I will say that 2-point conversion was the difference in covering and not getting it. I understand that's such a tough call. There's so much arguing going on about it on Twitter. Where do you guys stand on that? Do you say go for it? Do you say not go for it? Just take the 7. What are your thoughts?
I would just take 7, if it was my decision to coach, but I understand it and I'm in support as well going for 2 because you think you can get 2, you're going to get 1 of 2 2-point conversions because that's what that turns into. It's not one play. Your thought process is we're scoring another touchdown as well, and we're just going to go for 2 then if we don't get it and we'll tie it up, or PAT wins the damn game. So I get it. You're losing. It's a little spark, but man, it's heartbreaking when you get that damn ball back real quick and now we're down 8. But I just also want to touch on before these two, man, that end game situation with the timeouts, and both coaches choked. Both coaches, Dan Campbell, that's bad, and Todd Bowles, that's inexcusable.
Why are we not calling it?
Inexcusable, Todd Bowles. Dan Campbell, though, you guys got to be more aware. They didn't call your timeout. Why are you snapping the ball so quick? Because you screwed yourself. You're lucky the Bucs weren't trying to win the fucking playoff game.
Didn't care.
Go to the NFC Championship game. Not to get on the other spot because the 2-point conversion is a hot topic, but man, that also.
Yeah,
Todd
I
Bowles,
have that written
you
here.
said it,
Mike.
he needs to be fired because that does. I agree, man. He should be chopped for that because that is you're in the playoffs, man. What are we doing? Not using every lap. I don't care. I'm calling them all if there's 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
I'm being that petty guy. We're in the playoffs. Fumble the
Make him
snap.
make the field goal. Make the
Fumble the
kicker
snap
for
too.
Detroit
Yeah, please,
hit the
something
field goal.
like that.
Yeah, I was blown away. I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, wait a second. It's 4th down. There's 35 seconds left. They have a timeout left. Why are we not running onto the field and calling this timeout? And then they were like, well, they're in field goal range. It's like, they still got to make the kick. And then if they make the kick, okay, fine. You got us. You beat us. You're already down 8. Why not take a chance? Who cares? It's the last game of the year. And Bowles is like, nah. What's the point? I'd rather lose by 8 than 11. Maybe he thought that that'll make him look better. I don't know. But that is inexcusable. That is inexcusably bad time management from both the Lions, who that will kill them if they do that against somebody who's an actual good NFL coach. I've never believed in Todd Bowles. That just cemented it for me. Like, what are you doing? Are you just saving that time out for next week? Is that what you think? If I keep this one, I get it next week? You ain't playing next week, buddy. May as well use it now.
Yep.
That blew my mind. I was pissed because I had Tampa Bay to cover. I'm like, call the timeout. Maybe he misses.
You can't be nice, man. That's what that just turns into. You're being a gentleman during your law. What are you talking about? They screwed up. Take advantage of it and force them to kick the 40-plus yard field goal because if they miss, you're in great field position. You never know. You just never know.
100%.
But sorry to jump that 2-point conversion because I do want to hear what Sage and Steve have to say about that because that is a hot topic as well.
It is.
No, with the 2-point conversion, I agree with going for it. I mean, at that point, who thought the Bucs were going to be there? You know, you're playing with house money, and you got Baker Mayfield on right there. You don't want this game to go on longer because I mean, we see what happens in overtime. Obviously, they changed the rules for the playoffs, but say you go to overtime because you kicked this field goal or the extra point. All of a sudden, yeah, you never know. You want it to be in your hands. You want to take control of your own destiny. And you go down there, you win that game, you don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Obviously, points are being scored in this game. They can't stop the Lions regardless. Hey, do what you can right now.
Yeah.
Agreed. Colin, would you go for it or take the one?
So I've always been a huge guy. You kick the PAT the first time, and then you're down 7. And if you want to walk off a 2-point a la Giants, Titans, week 1 of 2 seasons ago, where Saquon kept that and the Giants propelled themselves to the playoffs based off that. If you go for it there at the very end of the game, down 1, no time on the clock, you win the game or you lose. I'm fine going for it there. I'd kick the PAT the first time around. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I wasn't beat up about it. I'm not like, oh, these guys are idiots for going for it. What I am beat up about is don't underthrow a goal line fade to Mike Evans if you're going to go for it. I mean, he is open with like 3 yards of cushion in the back corner of the end zone, and he's reaching over his defender. It's like, give some air on that ball, Baker.
Yeah.
But also, Addison, like you talked about, you have to call that timeout with 35 seconds at the end of the game. How many missed kicks did we see this weekend? How many missed kicks have we seen all season long? These things are not a guarantee.
I guarantee you, all Detroit sideline thinking game over, game over. All of a sudden, Bucks whip out that timeout. Kicker's not even thinking I'm about to go kick. All of a sudden, you just never know. Adds a different element. You're not wrong in that. Sage, I mean, a playoff coach getting chopped. That was a bold prediction, but man, I think that's going to become out dead true, brother, because that's Todd Bowles' job right there, and any future head coaching job, big time decision maker. It's not him. It is not him.
No, I mean, that's a 47-yard field goal he has to hit with all the pressure in the world. Like, make him make the kick, dude. I don't understand it at all. That's
like Badgley still got a little charger in him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just that's insane to me. But
there's a reason he's on the second team.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Real
Let's
quick,
get into
though,
Sunday
before we
night's
move on
game.
to the next game, about this game, you talked about the turnovers being a huge difference. What team was going to make that mistake? Because just looking at the stats here, the Bucks outgained the Lions. You look at the red zone. Both teams are awesome in the red zone. Bucks 3 of 3, Lions 3 of 4. You look at the scoring per quarter; they were tied each quarter until the 4th, and the Lions won that by 8 in the 4th. So such a tight game, and it came down just to a couple of Mayfield interceptions that cost the Bucks the game.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's a tough loss. Good for Detroit, man. Good for Detroit.
Yeah, big one. Sunday night's game. This one was fun for me. Loved this game. Kansas City going to Buffalo and winning 27-24 as the Bills have to hear those famous words again from years ago, wide right. We were talking about kickers earlier. Again, how many kickers missed kicks this offseason? Just this postseason alone. Anders Carlson, a game-tying potential field goal. And then Tampa Bay and Detroit, like making him try and take the field goal. This game, him missing that field goal with the game on the line. It just came down to, again, neither team made any mistakes. Neither team made the killer turnovers. I will say they tried. The Chiefs tried by running an end around with McCole Hardman twice. And guess what happened both times? He fumbled the ball both times he touched it.
It just makes me great because that's Matt Nagy just chirping in Andy Reid's ear all week. Oh, let's get him in space on that end around. It'll work. It'll work. And then it just gets blown up.
They'll never see it coming.
No.
I want to see him try again 3 more times.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that'd be
Let's
great.
do it again.
I'm sure. But look at the game plans and how these two teams played so differently. Like Mahomes only threw the ball 23 times, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pacheco ran all over the Bills' rushing defense, 15 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Pacheco didn't play the first time these two teams played. I think that was a big difference. That dude runs so angry. I love watching him run. I love it. And then you look at the Bills. Josh Allen threw the ball 40 times, and he only had $186 and 1 touchdown. And missed. We will say, to be fair, Stephon Diggs, that ball went through both hands.
Oh,
That's
man.
got to be caught. Trent Sherfield dropped several, but Allen had an open touchdown that would have been a potential game winner, and he underthrew him. And he had
Tyler
Diggs wide
Bass.
open.
Bass
Yeah.
doesn't even have to kick. Bass's field goal ain't even going off because that just gives the Chiefs the ball with time left. So you never know there. But it's just like, Allen, that's a tough miss. Diggs' is dropped, though, man.
Brutal.
You're the guy that chirps all the problems, bud. And in the biggest moment, slipping between your fingers, pal. Like, come on, man. That's a heartbreaking drop for Stephon Diggs. And I know it's weird. I live vicariously through Chiefs fans because Bears could have drafted Mahomes. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking this could be Bears. So I'm happy for the Chiefs, as crazy as it is, even though they've had this elite success. But man, heartbreaking for the Bills. Yeah, 6 straight AFC Championship games. Mahomes is a dick. Josh Allen tried his best. He tried his best. He did, but the missed throw late, that's what everybody's going to be looking at. But at the end of the day, they're really going to be looking at that field goal.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Tyler Bass, man, he's been in the league like 4 or 5 years. He's only 26 too, so he's a young guy.
They gave him a bad extension.
He's a good kicker. Tough miss in the big time moment. That's going to be haunting you forever. How do you bounce back from that, Tyler Bass? Is that career ender, or is that something that you don't even remember?
I do say I feel for him because he had to deactivate all of his social media from death threats from Bills fans. Stay classy, Bills Mafia. Way to go. Go after your poor kicker who's been very good for you all season, his entire career, and now you want to completely shit on him because he misses a kick in the windy Buffalo. Maybe put a roof on your stadium. I don't know. Maybe that's something I would do. Prevent something like that from happening.
Not pissed at Allen, though, or Diggs.
No.
Much as the kicker, though.
Yeah. No, not pissed at either of them. I will say Bass was not good this postseason. 2 for 5. 2 for 5 on kicks. That is not very good. 1 of 2 between 20 and 29 yards. 1 of 3 from 40 plus.
Yikes.
You can't win in the postseason with that. You just can't. You have to have a solid kicker. And the Bills, we'll get more into this offseason. Bills are in a tough spot. Allen's cap hit this year is only 15. Next year it goes up to 41.
41.
And they are 41 million over the cap as is. So they've got some tough moves to make. Von Miller got paid $3 million for every tackle he made this season. That makes me very happy to see. Bills are going to have some questions to answer. They've got a lot to figure out this offseason.
And I think the biggest question to answer right there is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers, the last 10 Bills games, Khalil Shakir, playbook darling, had 462 yards on 37 targets. Stephon Diggs had 422, 40 yards less on 80 targets. Over double.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, Diggs is probably on his way out of town with his captain. Gabe Davis is gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did he? Sage, that's what I was gonna ask. Is that drop really just gonna put in people's minds? Maybe this guy has fallen off at least a level. Maybe it's not the full cliff, but at least a level, because that's a catch that is every time for him. No,
in both hands.
Yeah,
he started this year 5 for 6, 100, 5 out of 6 games, 100 yards.
He was balling.
He was crazy.
I do want to throw it on the other end. Hey, I even talked down on this guy because I think he's lost a step, physically. But Kelsey, in the biggest moments, man, doesn't matter. 2 touchdowns. Obviously, only the 5 catches. But Nate, you said it. They only threw the ball 23 times. Not going to get many opportunities. So that's a good amount for what they were throwing the ball. And when it matters most, guy just goes to the extra step. He just
Yeah.
makes plays. And Taylor Swift, baby, not doing that heart Sally. I love that for him. Hey, good for him, man. He's in love.
Yep.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. Oh, Nate, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. But if we want to talk about Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson's playoff woes, can we talk about Josh Allen only having wins against Phillip Rivers last year?
Mhm.
A game where Lamar got hurt in the third quarter.
Yep.
Mac Jones.
Yep.
3-point win against Skylar Thompson. And Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph this year. Yeah. They cannot get past anybody good in the playoffs. They just can't.
Yeah.
And then now, Nate, you said I saw the tweet that was it was listing Josh Allen's cap hit per year, and then the Bills' season success, and it was loss in the playoffs, and then now it's 41 mil ? So it's been easier these last 5 years, and it's a loss in the playoffs every year. Now it gets extremely much more difficult.
Yep.
And
They've got some tough questions to answer this offseason. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Sage, for finding the stat about Shakir versus Diggs. I was diligently rifling through my phone trying to find that stat I saw earlier this morning.
Yeah.
But talking about this game, I mean, throughout the entire time, it just felt like the Bills were ahead in most of it, but it never felt like they really were dominating per se. But just looking at the stats here, Bills ran 31 more plays.
Yeah.
The Chiefs converted 1 third down. 1 in the whole game. They only had 5, but they only converted 1 third down on the game. Had 31 less plays. They each had less than 5 or less penalties, and the Bills had the ball for like 14 more minutes in this game.
Yep.
You talk about the fake punt. The Chiefs only had 10 guys on the field, so we're going to check into a fake punt. That was a terrible call. But thankfully, McCole Hardman was like, hey, we don't want that short field. Here's a fumble. You guys can just get it back at the 20 like nothing happened. So luckily, you luck out of that. But then you go down and you just miss a – now I wouldn't say a chippy, but you miss a kick you have to make in that situation.
Yeah,
I will say I did hear Bills players have said that fake punt came from the sideline. That was a coach's decision. Coaches called it. Like, I don't know who the Bills special teams coach is, but if he's not fired yet, I'm shocked because he called the game against Denver earlier by having 12 men on the field, and they missed the kick. They had to re-kick it, nailed it. Broncos beat them, and then this time, like, I'm sorry, what are we doing running a fake punt on 4th and 5 in our own territory? You know what that reeks of? Desperation. That reeks of desperation. And they got stuffed. They lost a yard on the play. It's like, oh my God. I know you want to get DeMar Hamlin his touches, but this isn't the way. This isn't the way. Don't hike the ball to him and let him try and get it.
Oh, man. Got to be the DeMar Hamlin, too.
Make a wish, kid. I think they were just hoping the Chiefs would help shepherd him to the end zone, let him get his 6. It's like, come on, DeMar. End zone's this way, buddy. Let's get you your touchdown.
Well, and something to talk about, too, in this game, since I gave my flowers to Matt LaFleur and the Packers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah.
Wow. Another receiver besides Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce can catch a pass.
It's a nice catch.
Don't have the numbers directly in front of me here. Here we go.
2 for 62.
2 for 62. And they both seem to be big plays in the game. Obviously, an average of 31 each catch. But I just don't know what to say. I mean, Bills have the lead at half. They're at home where they've cried and cried that they need to play to win, and then you can't win. And 7 points the entire second half. 7.
Colin, you said it. I mean, it's not like this was it was a close game, but when you look at the time of possession, the play amount, that's not a close game. It's not. You've had so many more opportunities offensively, and you're squandering them over and over. Like, this has got to, this is probably the worst one for Bills fans, really, because you are at home.
I said it to Nate while we were watching. Sorry to cut you off, but it seemed like the Chiefs were just getting everything so easy.
Yeah.
And the Bills were you can see it, 31 more plays, 14 more minutes of possession. The Chiefs are just getting it and going. We know what we're doing. We know who we're hitting, and we're moving it. And the Bills were like scratching and clawing, trying to get the run game going as well, which I understand. But it just seemed like the Bills had to grind for it all, and the Chiefs were just easily getting what they wanted.
Yeah, I don't have the stat in front of me, but the number of 20-plus yard plays, it was like 8-0. The Chiefs were just hitting chunk yards, and the Bills were having to grind for absolutely everything. I mean, Chiefs averaged 7.7 yards a play, as opposed to the Bills' 4.7 yards. Like you said, the Bills held the ball for 37 minutes versus 23 minutes. They had 7 more yards. You can't. That's unbelievable. You can't have that. But it was a great divisional round, some great football games. Honestly, all of them really came down to the wire, minus the Ravens just doing what the Ravens do to winning teams.